lot of information to get through. So if at any point we're going too fast or if you have any questions, raise your hand. John's going to make sure you guys get your questions answered.
Yes, indeed.
I don't want to have a situation where I say I say one thing, you have a question, and I'm like four topics down, and you forgot by the time I get to you. So this is Q&A and just basic seminar showing out the basics of Blunami, and this is for you guys. And if we run out of time, or you want to try out the models and try to see how you feel about using Blunami yourself, don't worry, just come to the real booth. We'll have these same models on display. Give us hands-on experience. Hold the Blunami board. Throw it at Sid, I don't know, whatever you want to do. We'll get you guys all sorted.
Yep.
And then if you want to flag us down later on, I'm just going to be at the real booth. And then Sid
I'll be wandering around.
Yep. We're good? Yeah, we'll filter it down, and then we'll get started.
Get about half the bar.
Yeah. I expected like 5 things.
We got double digits.
I set low expectations. And my expectations are met, or I'm pleasantly surprised.
Thank you so much.
Low, and you go from there.
Hey, howdy. We're back.
You know, having football with you as well. What is this? That's me, dude.
John, you want to lead us in on that?
Sure thing. All right, everybody here? Excellent. Guys? Everybody, thank you so much for coming to the Blunami Seminar today. This is an awesome turnout here. We're going to have a lot of good information for people who are new to Blunami and people who are old hands at it. There's a lot of good stuff. Sid and Johnny are still teaching me stuff every single day about this awesome product that even I didn't know about. So you're learning from the masters right here. Seriously. These guys have done so much for the hobby and for this product in general. There's nobody better you can do this one. So without further ado, take it away, guys.
Yeah, thank you guys for coming. We're very passionate about this product. About 30 years ago, Johnny mentioned this product to me, and at first I told him he was crazy. I didn't think it was gonna, it just didn't make sense to me at the time, because it was new, you know. Change is very hard at times, and so he explained it to me, and by the end of the evening, I put a board into my car with whoever was selling them at the time, and we started doing this, and from there it's just taken off. I'm so happy that you're all here because it shows the interest in this product, and we really believe that this is a turning point for model train technology. Third Rail announced a product here in York, their brand new Acela, and it's going to have Blunami as an option. And obviously, Blunami is great as an upgrade product, so it's really changing how we think about things, how we do things. And so I'm really happy to have you here.
Yeah, to piggyback off what Sid said, welcome to the seminar, guys. Just a show of hands, just so I know what we're working with. How many of you have actually used Blunami or tried it yourself? Yeah, show of hands. Oh, quite a few of you guys. Okay, so when I talk about all the extra stuff you didn't know about, I'm not just preaching to myself. Awesome, I appreciate that. And then for all the guys who are new, guys and gals who want to try out Blunami and learn about the products, thank you for joining us today. Hello, hello. I also want to throw in here, no, we're not paid by soundtracks. I wish. But we just believe in this product a lot. It's a lot of change for the hobby that I think is coming soon. And it's because it's new, it's not scary. It's really easy. I've yet to meet one person who couldn't master Blunami within the first 5 minutes. So, but aside from that, Sid, you want to just kind of walk through what Blunami is?
Sure. So, we say Blunami a lot. We've said Blunami a lot this week, and you probably heard it talked about a bunch. At the basis of it, it's called Blunami DCC. It's a product by Soundtracks. DCC is a standard of digital command control. We in 3Rev do not use DCC very often because it was never standardized for our products. We use AC track power, and so it's never been the best product for us. It's never been standardized. So what Blunami DCC is a standard Tsunami 2 decoder with a Bluetooth receiver. And so because it has that Bluetooth receiver, we're able to control it instead of using a DCC throttle and a DCC command station. We're using our phones. And that Bluetooth capability is what lets us use it. We still have the trouble of AC track power. The track power is converted from AC to raw DC power using a bridge rectifier and a capacitor and some other hardware we can talk about. But what this really brings to the table for us is it brings DCC into our models, and we don't have to worry about powering our track with DCC. Just a little technical talk here. DCC isn't just a control system; it's also literally the power in like HO models track, other scales that use it. It's high frequency AC, and so we've never been able to use that. In our models, and so this allows us to, because we don't have to worry about what's powering, what's controlling it. We just turn on track power with AC, convert it to DC, and then our phone is what is controlling the model. And Johnny can definitely elaborate more on the user aspect and why this Bluetooth capability is so nice for us.
Yeah, of course. So kind of just making it a little bit more simplified, because I know Sid has engineer brain, a little bit, some of it goes over my brain too. So all you guys are familiar with legacy, DCS, TMCC. Those have been the standards for a very long time. And we have those two these very weird standards for O-scale specifically because two old guys had a fight in York many years ago and they never got over it. So the rest of the world has this thing called DCC, which is lovely. It's a standard that they all agreed upon and they all are compatible with each other and they can run all each other's competing decoders with whatever systems are available. When there was no standard, you could build your entire lab with one DCC system. And then if that manufacturer goes poof, well, all your stuff is obsolete now. So they want to prevent that issue. So they went, okay, I want to make DCC in a way where we can all agree on a standard that even if this manufacturer goes away, this company can still control their stuff, so you're not screwed. So this is why this is really exciting, because the way that the track power, that we send signals to the rails, we could not put DCC through our system. It would just scramble things, or you'd see boards detonate, which would be great for 4th of July, not great for your engines. So in this situation, instead of sending stuff through the tracks, it sends it via Bluetooth straight to your phone. So this is really, really great for new people trying to get into DCC or just command control in general. You know, I love my MTA stuff. I love my Lionel stuff. They have their moments, and they're models that would never change the control system. I love, and Bradley's a great guy, a friend of ours as well. But at the same time, I do understand that some folks don't like to wire their labs for DCS, or you see an RF out of range engine out on track, and you want to throw your engine across the room, or you try to program a legacy engine and it's frustrating. You don't want to. What are these buttons for? What does this icon do? You know, I can see the engine here. Why can't you see on the remote? It's all frustrating. What makes Blunami so nice is that I don't have to rewire my lamp. I can just go on any convention. These could be conventional, like we're doing today here. I can plop it on the same track as my DCS or legacy engines, run on the same track. They can sit there, they can run. It doesn't interfere. And all I need to run it is my smartphone. You give it power, you connect to the train via the app, everything is self-contained. And the nice part, unlike competitors' apps out there that are Bluetooth, you can run as many Blunami engines on your phone as you want. You could run 8 to 10 engines on one screen if you can fit them all and keep the track of them all. So that's what's really nice about this. It is almost foolproof. All you need is power, connect to it via Bluetooth, and then the controls are so simple.
Johnny, you have a question back there?
Yeah, go for it.
How much is the app?
The app is completely free. So
Thank you.
you don't have to pay for it. There's no premium version. It's free. It's on Android and iOS. They just did an update, so both versions are the same on both. The app is really simple. This screen here, I know it's really small, but this screen here is all you'll need to know here today for the first half of the seminar, for all the guys who are new. There's literally about six main buttons, and then a plus and minus for throttle control. So there's lights to turn the lights on and off. There's a bell, short horn, and long horn, which is a quirk of DCC. So it's kind of like DCS wise. You have your white button to press the horn, and you can use a soft key for your shorter horn blasts. And then,
Question over there?
yes.
Can the software be put on a tablet?
Yes, tablet can be run. You can run on most tablets as long as it's got iOS or Android on it. You can put it on a tablet. In fact, that tablet over there has Blunami on it that we'll be using for the third booth. And this is what you guys are doing. Like, just keep talking. But there's only 6 buttons on here, guys. And then there's engine stop, and then there's forward and reverse, which you can tap. The nice thing about this, the throttle control itself, you can either use the slider, like you're familiar with other manufacturers' apps. Use a slider, make train go faster or slower, or there's a plus and minus button for incremental control. If you really want to let your engines crawl or have that tactile exact throttle control. So it's super simple. If you can figure out 8 buttons, you're a dangerous person, right? You can run a train. So, and these decoders are pretty small as well. Scientific electronics is quite large, so Sid can kind of talk about that.
Yeah. So let me actually grab the decoder here. This right here is a Blunami decoder, the standard one that we use for our large-scale 3-year-old models. It is smaller than an MTH PS2 or PS3 board. It is way shorter than an MTH PS2 or PS3 board, and it has all the capabilities of sound, motor control, lighting, and then with some extra additions, smoke and couplers, all built into this right here. There are a few other pieces of hardware though. You will need a bridge rectifier and a capacitor to convert your AC track power to DC. And then there is the optional buck boost converter, which will give you constant voltage to the board as well. If you're going to be running upgrades or don't have good power feeds on your layout, I would definitely recommend a buck boost converter. And I must mention, this is not the only Blunami decoder that can be used in 3-year-old models. Just over here, this is John's little baby tank engine, and this can't really fit in this cab. This is the only area in this model where you can fit a board. And so they do make a smaller decoder that can't handle the amperage for the motor circuit as this one, but is still capable when you're driving a smaller model like that. But that version, which is the 2200 decoder, mentioned, this is the 4408 Blunami decoder. The 2200 decoder requires a lower voltage than this larger decoder, so those you will have to use a buck boost converter with. And I know for most of this seminar we're not going to be talking about the installation process and such, but if any of you want to take a photo of this QR code and scan it at a later time, this has my wiring diagrams and various components that you can use, and it'll be up here afterwards. Yes, you have questions?
Just real quickly, then, can you just explain a few steps going from TMCC to Blunami? Just real quick, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, that's very very simple. So your layout has AC track power on it, and it has your TMCC base or legacy base connected with like the U terminal on the command base. If you want to run Blunami trains on your layout, you don't have to change your layout at all. All you have to do is install Blunami into the model using the decoder and the conversion from AC to DC with the bridge rectifier and capacitor. Just install the electronics and then have it, like Johnny said, a smartphone or a tablet with the app on it, and you can run your train. It's that simple. There's no changes you have to make to your layout.
So, chiming in as the non-engineer person here, this is a really simple install. This is all screw terminals. So if soldering scares you, because it scared me, if you can at least solder a capacitor to a bridge rectifier and follow a diagram that Sid has either made from QR code, or how many of you guys have seen Sid's video he made on it? Pretty decent job. If not, check out Sid's channel, Sid's Trains. He literally walks you through step by step what you have to do. If you're a visual learner, perfect way to do that. The nice part about these decoders, screw terminals on here, every single thing is labeled. Every function output, which we'll discuss what that is, and motors, control, ground, hot, all the basic stuff is in there. If you want to pass it around, Sid, and John, just make sure you pick it up. Just pass it amongst yourselves. If you don't see it, just raise your hand. If you pocket it, it's dead, so don't pocket it.
What about sound files?
Sound files. That's a great question. So Sid had mentioned that's a Steam decoder. That is a 4408 series Blunami Steam decoder. If you make the mistake of buying the wrong decoder, they're different colors. What's purple or blue? Purple. Yeah. Blunami decoders are purple. Normal tsunamis are blue. I know it's confusing. Buy purple. There's a couple series of decoders. So the Steam decoders contain all of their Steam sounds. So all their whistles, all their chuffs, all their bells, all the brake sounds, coupler clanks, different types of stuff. All that is on that little decoder. If you want to see other manufacturers, you have to hook it up to your computer and spend 20 or 30 minutes loading it. You're going to beep at you and scream at you.
Assuming it goes in at all.
Assuming that it works at all. Or if you do another competitors, you get 5 bells, 5 whistles, and you may not like any of those whistles or bells. Blunami standard for steam locomotives. Not 5 whistles, not 10 whistles, not even 20 or 30. 90. 90 whistles you get to choose from, and you can just go into the app, go into your whistle setting, and change it. A lot of you guys who went to the Sunset booth this weekend, you saw me change it within seconds, and we can demonstrate that later today. For the guys who want to do diesel or electric, diesels are broken down by different types of manufacturers. So you have EMD for your guys who like early diesel, so your 50s pre-transitional. You have EMD-2 for your later EMD diesels. You have GE. You have your outgo decoders, and then everything else is Baldwin all others. So you can have Baldwin. You have Trey Fairbanks Morse. You have Galloping Goose sounds if you like that. You want Aruga horns in there, which you can do. So there's different types. There's a decoder for everyone, and there's I think what's the statistics sit on the combinations?
The combination of settings within these is 2.1 billion possible sound combinations. That's using different volumes, different whistles, bells, everything. There's so many combinations.
Set aside a weekend to go through all of
them. Yeah.
But that's not a statistic from us. That's a statistic from George from Soundtracks, who does equally as informative, if not more so, great seminars and presentations on YouTube. So while we're going to go over some basics that are exclusive to Rail, if you want to learn about any of this stuff that's confusing to you, or just how to change a setting really quickly, check out Soundtracks. And he makes videos every couple days. Yes.
Hey Johnny, what about older engines, older motors?
Yes.
Are there limitations?
Great question. So if you're going to be doing a Blunami upgrade, I would very strongly recommend a CAN motor, because these decoders aren't really meant for Polar motors. I have had guys come up to me when we've done these seminars and say, well, I've done it before, and I commend them greatly because I have no idea how the heck they did it. But it is possible, technically. Do I publicly recommend it? No. Sid will probably try it at one point to see how it works, but I would usually recommend a CAN motor.
Yeah, Johnny, we did have a question over here. You had another question, sir? I believe
So, yeah, just real quick. So technically, everything in the TMCC engine is taken out. The Blunami board is inserted, and basically that's it.
Yes. Once you take out all the TMCC electronics and you install the necessary electronics with Blunami, that's it. You don't have to change your layout, nothing. Just have track power. You're good.
So,
super easy.
So basically like this. So if you're going to do, so let's keep on TMCC engine, right? Board's blown up. You had a funeral for it. It's dead. It's gone. So that board's long gone. Take the engine up, open the engine up, take the board out, and just separate the leads for pickups and grounds, your motor leads, and if you're using the speaker, which it has to be an 8 ohm speaker. 8 ohm speaker, I usually recommend 2 watt, 8 ohm 2 watt for 4408.
Yeah, or even more really.
Or more.
Funny enough, I'm actually gonna point the camera back here. If you guys look back here, Travis, he is a audio guy. He knows a lot about speakers. He's explored even more than me. I use 2 watt, 3 watt, 4 watt speakers, but Travis, what do you recommend? Same thing?
I will say that Soundtrack says 3 watts max.
Yeah.
Anything less than that, you're just going to get more volume out of it.
Yeah.
Potentially distortion at high volumes.
Yeah.
But playing around with different speaker manufacturers, figuring out what works in the model itself, it's worth a couple extra bucks to invest in a few extra speakers.
Yeah, exactly. And in case some of you don't know, these older PS1 models and third round models with QSI, they have very small speakers. The magnets aren't very big, and they might have the correct impedance of 8 ohms. But if they're like a 0.5 watt, they're just gonna rattle to crap. And sometimes if the volume's too loud, it might blow up your amp. But actually, that's a good note to make. Say you are installing something with Blunami and you mess up your decoder, you fry something or whatever. Soundtracks is a great warranty and repair process. You just fill out a form, put it in a box, send it to them. If it was a manufacturing defect, they'll fix it for free. If you did it, it's like $40 or something. It's nothing. It's very simple to do, and they're also pretty quick about it usually.
Yeah. So, as I said, if you blow up if you're new to upgrades, oh my God, I'm gonna blow this thing up and it's never gonna run again. Me, I've done that before when I started doing these upgrades. Like Sid said, if you blow up the decoder, We've blown up the decoders before. We've blown up the audio amps before. Send it back to Soundtracks. It's $40. No harm, no foul. You get your decoder back. Try it. You're not buying another $200 board. So you have that. Yes.
A couple mechanical questions. First of all, what is the mechanical reason these boards don't like pull more motors over cans?
So, pull-more motors obviously are open frame AC motors. Lots of the time, the motor is grounded to the frame, and you can't have that with these electronics. So, like DC can motors are isolated; they have 2 terminals on them, and they're isolated from the frame, and so that's fine for us. AC motors are not, and they also draw a lot of current. That's the biggest part. You can isolate the motor, insulate things, but they draw a lot of current. You might get them going, and the current might drop down, but they draw like several amps when you start to move them. And so if you don't have like a very cleaned up, super efficient AC pull-more motor, you're not going to be able to use it. And the wiring isn't as straightforward as just hooking up 2 wires to the motor. There's other circuitry involved for polarity and going back and forth. And so that's the main reason. It's just having isolation from frame ground and the amount of current that they draw.
I'm just going to finish your question. So, going back to this, you have your gutted TMCC diesel for the sake of simplicity. So, you rip your board out. It's empty. You got your leads to your pickups and your grounds. You got your leads to your motors. You got your lead to your speaker or your place speaker, 102. Okay. After that, you take your pickups and your grounds, and you run them through a bridge rectifier and capacitor in AC in, DC out. You take the outs from the DC, you screw it into the decoder. Your lights, and then you put your motor in to M plus and minus. If you need to do it wired in parallel, if need be, you do that if it's 2 motors or series, whatever. Which one both work. Your speaker, you put into your speaker terminals, and then your lights. HL stands for headlight, BL stands for backup light, and FX 3 through 8, those are your function outputs, which you can do for additional lighting, which we'll talk about later. So it's that straightforward. Yeah. Yes.
Max amperage on the diesel.
The diesel. Okay, so this is it's more blanket statement with these. So the 2200 decoder that's in this baby tank engine, that's a 2 amp decoder for the motor circuit. The 4408 decoder, the large scale one that we're passing around, those are 5 amp for the motor circuit. Most engines are not. Most DC motor engines aren't going to get anywhere near that. But that's also stall current. So if I were to just give one of these engines enough power to get the motor to spin, and I were to hold my thumb on like the flywheel to keep it from spinning, that's stall current. It's when it's trying to spin up and overcome, the force of the drivetrain. That's a stall current. So if your stall current is really high, that's when you run into problems. But yeah, 5 amp for the large decoder, 2 amp for the smaller one.
So how much voltage can you take with the Blunami decoder without the buck converter?
Yeah.
And where does buck converter go? As you mentioned.
Yeah. Okay. So the bridge rectifier and capacitor, if you put in 18 volts track power, you're going to get around 25 out, and the 4408 can handle up to 27 volts. So that's why it's not required to use a buck boost converter. But if you do want that constant voltage, the buck boost converter goes in between the DC out of the bridge rectifier and the DC in of the decoder. And it just regulates the power. It usually has a little tiny potentiometer on it and lets you do that. The 2200 is like 22 volts, so that's why you're required to use a buck boost converter to limit that voltage to a constant voltage at or underneath 22 volts. I think you have.
No, yeah, I wanted to ask that because I'm talking about finding out the 2 AAs that are all 2 motors powered.
Oh yeah.
And a B unit, you put individual ones in each one.
Okay, so the way that this can work, there's a couple ways you can do this. If you like this PA here is 2 motored, and so that's a single unit. They're wired in parallel. Say you wanted to have an AB with 4 motors, and you wanted them all to be on one decoder, you would need to wire 2 motors in series and another 2 in series, and then basically those 2 series setups would then be in parallel, if that makes sense. It would be like having 1 motor and 1 motor. And that's how you can run it off. But if you're going to have more than 4 motors, then you got to start splitting it up. And I would recommend splitting it up because, well, obviously if money permits to have multiple decoders. you can do multi-unit consists with this, and it's very easy. It's much more simple than TMCC, Legacy, or even DCS to do. Yeah, and very realistic. That's your limitation.
Another question, right? In a club environment, does anything change at all? You know, if you have other people on Blunami and they're operating engines and you're operating yours.
Same mentality as any other club layout. Get off my main line. I'm running now. No, you can take it to any club layout. I've taken it to the Lower Susquehanna Club before. When I got Blunami for the first time, I brought that over and advertised it like a vacuum salesman. They hated it. So it'll work perfectly fine. But going back to your question, I would highly recommend, as Sid said, if you're doing multiple unit diesels, do separate decoders. I would personally do 2 motors. You can do like Sid said, but I would do 2 motors per decoder. One, because it'll flash ups are easy, and 2, it'll just sound cool as all get out.
Yeah.
When there's multiple going at the same time, you'll love it.
I wanted to finish your question there. One thing with clubs is obviously these are Bluetooth. Once you've connected to your engine, no one else can connect to it. No one's going to steal it from you. However, if you say you have multiple people using Blunami, obviously if you all set your engine on the layout, all your phones are initially going to bring them all up. So, make sure your club member doesn't add it so then you can't get into it. You make sure you connect to it, and then once you're connected, nobody's going to take it from you.
Yeah. The lockout feature is really cool for guys who have clubs. So, nothing sucks more than when I've got my nice legacy engine sitting on the club layout, and someone, whether it be from the general public or a club member that I'm going to yell at later, takes over the engine with the line sheet map. Once you're in the engine, you're in the engine. No one's taking control away from you. Will I hate you if you leave the bell on the entire time and I can't turn it off? Yes, I will hate you. But there's nothing I can do about it. You can put the phone in your pocket and go to lunch and come back 3 hours later and I'll still be going mad. Soundtracks. George also did too. We have a nickname for it. I won't say it here. But yeah, so that's really as easy as it is, folks. As long as you can trace wires and go put in some terminals, it's really simple. If you want to see visually how to set up the buck converter or the redirect fire and stuff, watch this video. Yes, that question.
Yeah, John, so we were talking earlier, there's a lot of positives. Are there any cons? Like, how does it hook into the smoke unit?
There's 2 big ones I can think of. So I get asked these 2 questions all the time. There's very few things you can ask me in terms of complaints that I haven't heard before. Will it synchronize the smoke if I hook the smoke unit? No. There used to be a output before on the previous generation of Tsunami decoders, the non-Blunamis. Granted, this is for HO and N. While we have chuff cams and stuff like that, you can imagine how angry HO people were when they had to put chuff cams in to make the thing sync. So they removed that. So to synchronize your chuff, you actually just set it on the app. You just set a value. It's digitally done. But that does mean you can't make the smoke sync. You can try doing a physical cam and having that time with the smoke unit. It's not going to be perfect, but it'll be close enough for most people. Second thing, I mentioned you can download an app and run this with the app. It can only be ran via the app. Unfortunately, you cannot run it with TMCC. You cannot run it with Legacy or DCS. However, there's ways to work around that in terms of enjoying the feeling of using them. We'll get to that a little bit. Make sure we cut off.
There was one more question over here.
Okay, sorry.
You good? Okay.
I just wanted to mention, if for whatever reason there is someone in here that it runs basic or normal DCC through the track, you can control this with DCC. Most people in 3-rail do not, but I did want to mention that because there might be someone here doing 2-rail, or there might be people who do DCC through the track in 3-rail, so I wanted to mention that.
But Dan is.
Yeah, I know.
Dan's the only one I know.
So we've been talking for a while about this. I actually want to show you some stuff. And so I'm going to first start out with my Y6B here sitting on my track.
One question that does 2 things.
What's up?
Because we mentioned it, and they're going to go, oh, that's cool. How do I do it? Okay, they're gone. Smoke.
Yeah. Let's talk about that. Okay, first of all, I mentioned earlier, if you want to know anything about installing, other than watching my video, take a photo of this. It's going to be up here after as well. This has all my wiring diagrams, and you can scan the QR code at a later time. But let me just explain how to do smoke couplers. So lighting is very simple. It's just LEDs or bulbs with resistors as needed. But smoking couplers draw more current than the lighting outputs on that decoder.
And that's
And-
FX3, FX4, that what I mentioned before. That's what it's on.
Yeah, FX3, FX4, I think it goes up to 8. And so the way to do smoking couplers is using one of two things. For the smoke, you use relays. I use small solid-state relays. You can also use a mechanical relay. And you can hook those up to the function output, and then you run the smoke power through the relay, and so it's like flicking a switch. And when you turn the function on, it turns on the relay and lets power go to your smoke unit. Powering the smoke unit, I use mini DC power supplies. I have diagrams on that, and I also made a video on that, so check that out. And then for the couplers, there's two things. You can use the same idea, a little mini DC power supply through a relay off of a function output, or you can use a board that's on OGR. There's a few members on OGR who have made a board that you can purchase and have printed for you, and it's a very basic hookup. I do, we'll mention it later, and probably show you later, but with couplers, you're using a function output, and those function outputs are kind of an on and off kind of setting. You don't want to just apply power to your coupler and leave it on. You're going to split your coupler doing that. And so within the app, we'll be able to show you here in a few seconds, there's features to adjust the function outputs and the buttons to be momentary. You want your coupler to be momentary. You press it, fires, shuts off. If you don't do that, you're going to smoke your coupler, and it usually won't smoke the board, but you'll have problems with your coupler.
Real quick, before we get into the feature stuff, did everyone have a chance to see the decoder yet? Has it made its way around the room?
Awesome.
Has everybody got a chance to see it? Excellent.
So Sid mentioned the coupler stuff. So from Sid's the engineer side of things, I'm the product support side of things. Guess how we found out couplers go zap when you don't set it momentary? This thing. So the other thing. So when we say momentary or a function on off. So let's use an example. So on off would be for lighting functions. I want this light on or off, 2 states. If I'm doing a whistle, for example, the whistles are set to be momentary. However long you press it, is how long it goes for. So you want to have a momentary button press for your couplers. That setting is not set. Most settings in Blunami are saved to the decoder. So if I connect to Sid's phone connects to my train, he has the same settings as I do for the basic stuff. Function outputs. Function outputs. Those settings for if they're momentary or on or off are saved per the device. I learned this the hard way. Sid showed me how to set up on my phone. I ran it. I'm like, I want to switch to my iPhone to record this. Turn on couplers. What's up, burning? Oh goodness! And then I had to cut delete my couplers since they were open since. So it's there. Just if you do it, just be careful if you're swapping devices. That's just one of those shortcomings of the app and decoder right now. So you don't have unpleasant surprises later. Just keep that part in mind. Is there anything else you want to?
Any last question?
Yes.
Questions over there.
Right.
So, assuming 90% of us are free rail operators, is there a plan to include the bridge rectifier package in a board?
Not at this current time. There is plans for soundtracks to do synchronized smoke in a newer generation of decoders. We did talk with George at the O-Skill 2-rail March meet in Chicago. We had the luxury of actually having him play with some 3-rail for the first time. And I will actually be seeing George next week at TrainFest, and I'm going to give him a Rail King F4. He's like, try this so you can know how this works. So, and George is great. He's a great guy. And if any guys any questions about how to do something or how the decoder works, first resources are videos, George's seminars. You can email us if you have any questions. I'm more than happy to answer any questions regarding Blunami configuration. And then call Soundtracks. Yeah. They will pick up the phone and they will talk to you for as long as you need them. That is super helpful. Their customer service is next level in terms of how much we appreciate what they do. George will sit there and talk to you for as long as you need. If you need him on a weekend and it's a dire thing on what decoder do I buy, he will still answer the phone. Yes. And then what do you? I keep getting you.
Sorry, just a quick question.
Yeah.
What if you're super intrigued, but you're afraid of all the electronics? Are there people who can convert?
Yeah.
Travis, stand up and wave it.
Yes.
Travis is your guy.
That's the guy.
If Travis is too busy, which I don't know if you're too busy, I'm not going to speak for you.
I sent
I can do them as well,
Get
but
ready.
I can do them as well, but I highly recommend Travis. if you want some work done.
Where do you live? Your information is.
I'm about 20 minutes from here. I have business cards over here.
Travis has business cards over here. I also have business cards, so if you're interested in either, grab our cards, and we're happy to help you.
You know people in other cities that also do that as well.
Yeah.
We could
If
refer.
you're looking to do this for the
We're
first
the only
time,
ones I know
what
of.
sort of locomotive might be the easiest type?
A diesel.
Yeah, definitely something with
Definitely a diesel. A
Because
diesel is simple because you don't have a tether. It's a very flat surface to mount stuff to. There's no weird shells to deal with. The biggest thing being tethers can kind of confuse people, worry them. There's a lot of wires to trace, so a diesel is definitely the easiest.
something that's all contained in one place.
Yeah.
Not a tight engine though. 'Cause that's awesome.
Yeah.
yeah.
The reason you can't use your legacy handheld is just the Bluetooth
Yeah.
scenario. Is that basically it?
It's because it's Bluetooth, you're not sending anything through the track. So, and the other thing is that you keep in mind, it's a proprietary system to soundtracks. So there's nothing between line. This is not a standard that Lino or Lionel adheres to at all.
You want to keep signal out of the track. That's the whole idea.
This is strictly at the moment a upgrade thing we've been doing. Just here at York, Third Rail Sunset announced a new Acela that they're making that's going to have it from the factory. But at the moment, this is a strictly upgrade consumer product that we use to put in our models, not something that's installed in the factory by anybody except for upcoming Third Rail products.
Is there
Anything else?
any other any upgrade questions?
Is there, because it's all going off of Bluetooth, but also other manufacturers like, we'll say Lionel, for instance, can control some of their engines through Bluetooth. Is there a possibility or a way or something that's in the works where Blunami or Lionel or otherwise could you control through the Blunami app a Bluetooth controlled Lionel train, or vice versa, a Bluetooth controlled like a Blanchard Universal Remote to control a
Via Bluetooth, no. There are some software that are being developed by some of our friends to control your trains and our Blunami stuff and other products in various ways, but that stuff is not public right now.
So, but before we get into the main meat and potatoes of the extra stuff that I really like showing off, is there any other questions before I have the floor? We're going to move fast.
Yep. One last one. So if somebody, let's say it's for a kid,
Yeah.
and using a cell phone, and they just run a local, conventional, or just
So there's no conventional mode because the moment it gets power, it goes into DCC mode. So if there's a kid that's wanting to run trains, tell them download the app, connect, go buck nutty.
Yep.
They'll figure it out.
They'll get it.
It's 6 buttons. If I can figure it, you guys can figure it out. All right. Yes.
One last question. Is there an emergency shuttle on the chance?
There is on the there is a stop button. I think the 10th version's still on there. The newer version, you just turn the memento off in the function panel. But yes, there's a oh my god stop button. It stops every Blunami engine you're connected to. Now, if your buddy's running Blunami stuff and you hit the stop everything button, as long as you're not connected to their engine, that doesn't stop. That keeps going. So whatever you're connected to at that moment, and you hit oh my god stop, it stops there. Good, everyone. All right, cool.
Okay, so let's get into showing off some models here. I have a Third Rail Y6B here that has Blunami installed. Here's my phone, and here is the Blunami app. I'm going to open it up and see there's a bunch of engines listed on here. When you first install Blunami and you power up the decoder, it's going to be named Blunami 1.0 or whatever the decoder is from the factory. I've renamed it to HW. Double check things.
Muted you.
And running John.
I don't know why it was like muted.
And I have my engine here. So all you have to do is click connect, and after a second it'll connect. If you have the sound on, you'll hear a beep, and then you just click on the engine. Once you click on the engine, it'll go through the CVs. It'll read them, figure out what they are, and set them up as needed. And then once you're here, it'll be set up. And so I currently have a feature set up called quiet mode. If you don't want your models to all turn on and have sounds running when you turn on power, there is a setting called quiet mode. I'll show you that here in a little. But to get things going, I always start with just turning the lights on. And so the sounds will turn on in my case. The light dynamo, and you hear the dynamo, the lights on here at the front, and you're underway. I now can have a whistle, have a bell, and obviously basic control. I'm going to use the plus and minus here, and you're underway. It's that simple. And obviously, as you can tell, it's a very dynamic experience. It sounds pretty good. It's comparable to many other products in the market, even better. This isn't even full volume. If you want it to be really loud, you can make these models be pretty loud. But let's get things out here. But yeah, within this menu, you can just run your train or speed. Obviously, if you drag this back down, it'll come to a slow direction. Go the other way. And then there's a slow go stop button. If I press that, the model will come to a stop. You can also see I have directional lighting here. And it's that simple. If all you really want is your trains to just run and be simple, it really is that simple. You click on the model to connect, you open the engine, you press a few buttons to turn on lights and such, and you're underway. It's that simple.
And the quality of sound, as you can hear, is insane.
Okay, so say touch on this when I was walking around showing around the product. Yeah, what's your question?
Can you program routes?
Can you program routes? No, it's just a single just control.
Yep.
So Sid mentioned this before. Quiet mode. Quiet mode. So when you program your code for the first time, it's going to make noise. It's going to every time it gets checked out, it'll turn off. But there's a setting called quiet mode. Quiet mode is a setting that took us too long to figure out. That mode we tried to make a manual shut up switch in the center of that mode. It still has a shut up switch. It's useless. But what it does, so in the Blunami settings, if you go under, I think it's under sound settings.
It's under sound settings and other settings.
Yep, other settings on there, and then you can set a quiet mode. So what quiet mode does is if you want you to turn on your layout, it sits in the roundhouse like every other engine. Have quiet mode on, so it doesn't auto start. And this is also a feature for auto start, which I'm saying. But if no buttons are turned on, so no lights are turned on, whistles are pressed, nothing, it'll stay quiet. With Blunami diesels, they like to follow realism. So with the diesel, you fire it up, you gotta notch it up, and then it turns on. Steam engines take hours to turn on. So they didn't see a point to really just having it just turn on suddenly. The moment you have track power, you hear idling sounds. With quiet mode, this is why I tell folks when you do your upgrade, for the love of God, please hook up the headlight. I know lighting is scary, but do the headlight because this is important for this feature. You can, if you hook up the headlight, if you use the actual headlight button to turn the lights, then your engine starts making sound. If you turn off the headlight, you don't press any buttons, then it mutes. Obviously, I know lighting isn't for everybody. I hate doing it myself. It takes me a whole other session to do it just because I don't like it. But if you hook up the lights, this is a really important feature. I bet you about 99% of the folks I talk with don't even know it's a setting. They just go, yep, on track power, it's supposed to annoy me and my wife for 3 hours. Like, that is such an important feature that no one knows about. And if you want to see another demonstration up close, come to the third rail booth or go watch George's seminar. So that's one of the biggest settings in terms of Blunami I would recommend. If you remember one thing, you can tell it to shut up. Make it shut up.
I'm actually going to show you here. I'm going to set this setting all the way to 0 here. And I'm just going to save this setting and go out of here. And just, now I'm going to shut this engine off and if it goes correctly. And now, see, it just turns on with track power. Now that I've turned that setting off, it just turns on with track power. It's going to sit here and do this for as long as you want until you address it. So now, if I go in here and address it, now you hear the dynamo come on, the headlight come on, and now it'll run and do stuff. And if I turn the headlight off, the headlight will turn off. But the sounds won't turn off. So if you want your sounds to be off when you start up, and you want them to be able to turn off once you turn off all your function settings, make sure to set up quiet mode.
For diesels, there is auto start. So when you apply track power, you're going to hear the ring of the bell, and the primer is going to come on. So in fact, let me show you what that sounds like. Because we heard, a lot of you heard Sid's Y6 all weekend. So, right now, next to the engine, it's quiet mode's on, I turn off auto start. And then you hear the engine notch up, and your engine's ready to go. So that's something unique to Blunami, and You don't hear that from many manufacturers, and if you hate that bell, you can turn it off too.
So you start off in quiet mode, and then you gradually start the different components one by one, or is it just a sequence of?
So for a steam locomotive, you just turn on the headlight. For a diesel locomotive, there's a button for RPM plus and RPM minus, because you can notch up and down manually.
Okay.
You just hit RPM plus, or you turn on the headlight or whatever. You can turn on the headlight, it'll unmute the engine, and it'll make the background sounds for diesel. But if you want the prime mover to turn on, notch up, or if you really don't want to hit the notch button, just make it move. It'll notch up automatically.
And Johnny, if I can make a quick point here, you always say this is not just a sound replicator. This is supposed to be like a whole experience with this. So it's not just train makes noise, happy. It's just you get this whole immersion factor with it. It's you can make it as simple or as complicated as you want. Like Johnny, you always love whenever running diesels, like going through each one of the processes, starting the compressor, starting all that stuff. It's all about how much you want to put into this. You can make it as simple or as complicated as you want.
But you have to have quiet mode on.
Quiet mode is quiet mode is something that I would recommend for everybody to do, but you don't have to. If you like train just to go on, just to know when the power's on, I know guys who are like that. That's fine. I like my train to shut up because they know me after 10 minutes.
I also want to mention one thing, another way, if you want to know indication of track power and the engine's getting power. Someone I know that loves to do this is Norm Charbonneau. He always wires like a cab light or something directly to track power, so you know that you have power getting to the engine. That's another thing. You don't have to hook any of the lighting up for this to work. It's just fun. It's very immersive. But you do not have to if you just run off track power.
Headlight or backup light is so easy to hook up.
It is really.
At least do one. Just
but
one.
But the rest you don't have to.
Yeah.
Oh.
Could you explain a little bit about the momentum and speed control?
Yes.
Sure thing. So, out of the box, your decoder will just, when you move up auto, jump and go. That's no momentum. You can set momentum on these engines to be as high or as low as you want. I like having momentum on my engine, so if you go to the gear icon, if you go to your, I believe it's under your speed settings, if I went to the right one, that'd be helpful.
Speed settings here.
Yep, so it's got it. Speed settings, and then you can set your acceleration and your deceleration rate. If you want to have a little momentum, set a little bit. I usually recommend to have a little bit of momentum. I usually set it high. I know guys who run clubs are like, no, when someone derails, I need to stop now. So if you need to have that, you can have that as well. But you can set momentum to be as high, because these are big engines. They don't just start and stop randomly. You want to have them feel like a model. That's what Blunami is.
So I can demonstrate here. The Y6B is running. I'm going to ramp up the speed here and see it's at like a pretty high speed, but it's taking a while to get up to that speed. And funny enough, the sounds also sync with that. The shuffle gets real heavy as it speeds up. Yeah. And then now I'm going to bring it back down. I have the momentum going down a little bit slower. But if I now... So I'm going to ramp up. So like this is a normal shot right here. This right here. Let me ramp up. We can get that labor shot next to the speed. And now as I go all the way down, the sound sync and get a light jump.
That's something that's really cool with Blunami, is that if you want to have your engines work like engines, and this is stuff you don't have to really configure much of. For anybody who just wants your trains to get up and go, that's the main stuff I want you to know today. Yeah. If you want to know more stuff that you won't get anywhere else outside of soundtrack seminars or this seminar, stay tuned. Yes?
Since the generic boards, as you add new trains, how do you identify the trains?
So, you got this one?
Yeah, I can do this one. So, that's good. So within the settings, there's a general settings at the top. And like I said, when you first turn on these decoders, it's going to say Blunami 1.0 as the name. And so the way to distinguish it is to do two things. You can rename the loco. There's a nickname and also a loco sort name. So I named this one NNW Y6B. But there's also the DCC address. These are all set to DCC address number 3. And the simple way to change that is there's a menu here, DCC address. Tap on it, and you can type a 4-digit address. You can type the cab number or any number you want from 0 to 9,999. And it's that simple. And that you definitely want to do that and change the address, because you will definitely run into issues similar to you would with like TMCC or DCS, where if you have engines with the same ID, they're gonna play some games with you and want to respond in weird ways.
Interesting phrasing. So that's the basics. So the thing that John mentioned before, Blunami and Tsunami decoders are more than just a sound maker. DC has some legacy fantastic systems with their sound makers. You have play chuff, play whistle, play bell, play dispatcher. It's the really basic stuff. With Tsunami decoders, it is meant to be operated at its full potential like a real locomotive. For example, my Alco PA, I had to notch it up. You heard all the fun sounds. Some things that are in Blunami that are exclusive that you don't see anywhere else. Let's take the diesels because those are my favorite. So the engine's notched up. Let's say you're running your engine and you apply the train brake because there's two different types of brakes: independent brake for just the locomotive, which plays a brake squeal sound, and you have the train brake, which you hear the air being dumped because you're stopping the train. So just for example, for the train brake, engine's going to move. I'm going to turn on the train brake for the independent brake. Oh, look at that, brake squeal. And it's going to brake for as long as the engine stops squealing. And then when I release the brake, there you go. How many other manufacturers do that in pre-rip? The other cool thing, so you use the independent brake, if you're using the actual brake shoes now. Let's say it's the train brake. Well, when I'm using the train brake, I'm going to dump the air. You can hear whoosh, the air dumps. Well, you got to recharge those brake lines. So you'll hear the prime mover notch up to spin and recharge those lines. So after that, it notches back down. Your train's ready to go. You have that little bit of immersion. You get to be the engineer. So let's turn on the train brake. Air is dumped. Prime mover goes ahead and kicks up. It notches up for about 30 seconds. You can really take about 30 minutes or more for an actual train, depending on the size, but we don't have 30 minutes for that, so it's going to be a couple of seconds. And then you'll naturally hear it notch back down and the train's ready to go. Does it require for you to run it? No, it's just a sound effect. Can you set it to work like real brakes? Yes. So, your train brake, if you go under your sound settings, and I believe it's under other sounds, if my phone will respond. Under other sounds, I know this isn't easy to see from a stage. Please come to the third notebook, I'll show you. Independent brake, you can set your rate for how fast or how slow the engine is. I usually set my independent brake to be a lower value and my train brake to be a higher value. Because just the train by itself, it's going to stop fast. Train brake, I have time. What was your question? Did you have a question?
Is there a reference point for how the app works and all these different, like a booklet or something online where it explains what you're doing?
The manual describes some of that, and I would again George's video. If you realistic braking, Tsunami or Blunami braking, he'll go through how to set it up. He'll explain what the values.
And all the other.
Yeah, every feature I'm describing right now is a 2 or 3 minute long video with George on YouTube. Yep. So please don't feel like I have to jot all of this down now. Break that down. You don't have to. So you can set those brake rates so the train slips up. I use my train brake for the sake of demonstration. I have a short track, so I'll just read my mobile, so I won't do that. But it would take longer to brake. And what's really cool about it, think about this when you're doing this. I have a K-line F40, match F40. We have our bunker layout or clip layout. I always have the guys do this, and they have so much fun doing this. All right, bring your engine to track speed. Okay, there's the station. You can't touch the throttle. Hit the brake. Try to get in the station at the right time. It's so fun, and even for grandkids or kids who want to get involved with running trains at your clubs or at your house, give them a simple game like that. They're used to the phones. Press this button, make it stop. They'll get hooked. It's fun. It makes it immersive. It's more than just you can run it, and then they go, okay, how do I? It just goes in a circle. How do I make this fun? It gives that extra level of immersion. Diesels wise, you have other things that are unique to Blunami and no other manufacturer has. F40s. They're called screamers for a reason. HEP mode. They're notched up to 8 to power the lights. There's HEP mode in these decoders. You hit HEP, it goes straight to 8 and it stays there. You can mess with the throttle, it doesn't do anything. It still stays at that sound. The throttle will activate and control the engine, the sounds will stay at 8. Steam generator sound. You can turn on steam generator sounds for your passenger engines. That'll be an idle sound. That's an ambient sound you can turn on or off. Dynamic brakes. Who in the world uses dynamic brakes in pre-rail? No one. But these guys. You can apply a dynamic braking rate. It'll work just like the real thing. And it'll have the whine of a dynamic brake. So if you really want to go and make these engines like the real thing, if you want to be the engineer, you are going to be the engineer. These can be configured very easily, and again, George will demonstrate all of this if you want to go ahead. I'm probably going to tell him to come here next year, because after all the questions you guys asked at the booth, he needs to come there. Even Jay sees that as well.
We should get it there. We're going to be at the Big E, February, and going to be there.
At I don't believe so. The only shows I'm going to be at are I'm going to be at Train Fest next week, and then because I'm a complete insane person, I'm flying back here for Allentown.
Oh, okay.
I do want to mention Johnny's a diesel guy. Diesel are awesome. Funny enough, don't own a single diesel, even though I'm in model trains. I'm a big steam guy, and something that Lionel introduced years ago, but it made it a very exclusive feature, was wheel slip. Not the physical action, but the sound. The Vision Line Big Boy and other models, you had wheel slip, and you can only activate it at standstill. But Blunami steamers have the ability for wheel slip at all speeds, and so it is within the function menu. Something you can look out in the manuals and videos, but very simple here. You have a function button, and it opens up this menu, and there's two menus. And if you go to the second one, at the top, there is a button that says wheel slip. So if your engine's running, start running the steamer, and you press it, you have a simulated wheel slip sound. And now,
I heard that in Orange Grove all weekend.
Yeah.
I promise you.
and so if you're running as well, you can press it again when it's running, and have the slip while going up a hill or whatever you might like. And so that's one of my favorite features to talk about in free rail, especially. Yeah, that's one of my favorite things to show off for steamers, is because it was such an exclusive feature with Lionel, but now you can have it in literally any model you want.
So, I mentioned braking in diesels. Let's talk about brakes and steam engines. So, if you dump same thing, independent brake, brakes will squeal. For a steam locomotive, you have your air compressor. So, you'll hear Sid's engine has this air compressor cadence. Really simple, it's pretty rhythmic. Well, you gotta make the air compressors go on to recharge the train line. So, train brake, cadence changes. You're charging your train line again. Again, that extra level of immersion. With Tsunami stuff, you also have cylinder cocks. With MTH, you get one rotation of the driver of the cylinder cocks. Lionel, I think the only engine that has proper cylinder cocks is the GS, the Vision GS. This is a standard for literally everyone else. Why don't we have it? Well, now we can have it. So for cylinder cocks, blowing out all that moisture from the cylinder. With Tsunami, when it starts off, you hear that hiss of the cylinder cocks. It'll play for a couple seconds. If you want to play for longer, you can set that rate to be for however long you want it to be. What's also really cool, and Tsunami is the only DCC decoder in the industry that does this, you can activate cylinder cocks whenever you want. Johnny, why the hell would I want to do that? Let's be really rivet counter immersion guy for a second. Let's say you're using the injector. Put too much water in the boiler, it's a lot of moisture, you want to blow out all that moisture while you're at speed. You can activate that cylinder cock while it's at speed to represent that effect. No one else will let you do that. If I'm trying to do it on my Vision GS, it won't do it past speed step 20. That's a premium Lionel feature. That is a standard in these decoders. Another thing you can do, as Sid mentioned, the more load or more the engine is working hard, the louder it will be. Force coupler on Lionel. It does not work 90% of the time. It just goes at me half the time, and it's annoying. So with this one, the engine's going to start off, so it's going to give it a lot of juice at the beginning. Break some. It's super loud. It's going to keep chugging. And eventually, once it reaches that speed, it's getting quieter and quieter and quieter. And then you see it adjusts per the labor of the engine. So, force coupler, or DDE, digital dynamic exhaust, the more force on the engine and the motor, the louder it is. Because it's trying to compensate like the real thing. And if you don't like how loud it is, you can also adjust the cutoff. So if I increase cutoff, and there's rod clank. Who else has rod clank? So there's dynamic sounds that play with these locomotives. They're meant to be simulators, not just sound systems. And if I want to bring it back, minus cutoff. It's more than just play loud sound once and repeat it 4 times until the engine stops. Yes, Travis?
Just to add one more thing, I know, Sid's a steam guy, you're a diesel guy. Soundtracks, to me, has the best electrification sounds by far.
1,000%.
Yes.
The traction motor sounds, you can hear the internal relays clicking at the different throttles. There's even arc sounds for the pantographs along the catenary. It's like I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it. It is seriously, and even like for Third Rail, any of their older models because Third Rail has made some incredible in the past, incredible electric models, and this product brings a whole new life into them to make them match anything Vision Line related. Just in my opinion.
Oh yeah, no, I'm gonna go based off what you said as well. I can attest to that as just more of a consumer of this. You're still learning a lot of it. There is, those old K-Line Interurbans, the ones that are like plastic with the silhouette, very classic models. Lionel made them as well. They came with no sound, possibly a horn. I'm telling you, Johnny put a electric board into one of these things. It made this like it was near Vision levels of quality. The sounds that came out of this Interurban, the Pacific Electrics, yes, insane quality. Like the electrics are turned this way whole. Like you'll want to have an electric line on your layout when you hear these sounds. That's how good they are.
I will mention, I think this is better than Lionel Vision Line quality. I'll just put it there.
Yeah.
That is my own personal opinion. I have plenty of Vision Line models. This sounds so much better.
Touching base on what Travis said. Electrics. So, as a Chicagoan, I love the Illinois Air Museum. I ride Interurbans whether I like it or not. It's going to be there until the day I die, and it's fun. And when you ride Interurban, you hear this whine of the traction motor, and you hear when they put the pantographs up or the trolley pulls up, that sound effect's there. You hear the compressor whir up and the spitter going off for a little bit before it turns off. Because that happens. There's the experience of going to IRM. I'm going to sit on the Interurban. I'm going to sit there. What's that sound? What's that sound? It's going. It's like being at your local track museum if you have the luxury of being at one of those. It's fantastic. Before I get more into the extra bells and features and accoutrements, let's go into the bells and features, the whistles and bells. So I'm going to do this real quick with the Alpha PA. So, like I said, I told you earlier, you have all these sounds are preloaded. There's 90 different whistles on steam locomotives alone. If I want to change it, all I have to do, and it's literally instant, gear icon, sound settings, main sounds, right here, under horn, I can go through, and I can scroll through all these horns that are there, and I can select one. For my transition early diesel fans, A200 horn, that's there. Or Leslie's or K5LA's. If you like it for horn enthusiasts and want the horn that's specific to your modeling, we most likely have it in here. Or if you want to do something fun and mess with your club numbers, you can do Galloping Goose. Or you can do things such as there's even an Auga horn. If you're weird and like Canada, like our buddy Dan, there's a bunch of different sounds, Interurban air whistles. So many horns in here. Same thing with whistles. So many different ground whistles. So many bells. And the bells are different. They're not just different pitches. Imagine that.
It's not the same bell 5 different times.
I know. It's not the same bell. Ding, 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 ding. So they're all different. They're different ring rates. Each bell is separated by different engine manufacturers. There's EMD bells, there's Alco bells, there's GE bells, there's E bells, and they all have 4 different ring rates. So slightly really fast or very slow. So right now, what bell do we have in here? Standard EMD bell. If I want to make it like a brass Canadian bell for whatever reason, I'm gonna go to the same place. Go to my horn. Go to my sound settings. Let's go all the way down to Canadian brass fast. So many different bells, different ring rates. And you can change them. And guys, this isn't like I have to hit save. when I change it, it's changed. There's no waiting. There's no load time. It's just change the setting, go back to your throttle, you're done. So with all the combinations we have, equally as complex as in depth of a library in your steam and electrics, you have access to all this, and you can fine tune it to be the exact model you want, or whatever sounds good enough to you, which really is what we all do, to be honest.
So, like for example, if you have an EMD GP35,
Yes.
is there something that just setting just says EMD GP35, and then it presets all the.
You do have to set it manually. However, if you're like me, you don't know all these things off the top of your head. Wikipedia is a great resource because they'll tell you. Soundtracks also has a page for anybody who's not a horn or whistle enthusiast, because I had to learn all these when I was playing Blunami for the first time. They have a page where they have, these are the standard whistles for this route, they're the standard horns for this route. So Historical Societies, a bunch of other stuff. If you want to know what prime mover you want for these engines, you can find them on Wikipedia pretty quickly, and most likely that's on there. If you want to know what your decoder sounds like before you buy it, go to the Soundtracks website, they have a library, you can hear every summons in the decoder. So this is just scratching the surface, guys. For the sake of time, I'm not really going into too much more stuff. There's yeah.
No, I was just double checking. You said on your soundtracks you would have a PDF or video or manual information on the
correct.
whole.
Soundtracks' website, under references and documentation, you will find there the PDFs. One last thing I want to touch upon. That's a big operations thing for the guys who just want basic stuff. You can run multiple trains at the same time. And you can lash up your trains as well. So I've got a couple of trains trains set up right now. So I've got the Algo PA on one screen, and then I've got my mobile on the other screen. If I want to lash them up, you see this little link icon at the bottom. You click the link, and you have, it's hard to see, but you can select consist group A through D. You assign it a letter, so I'm going to do A. And then on my other engine, I'm going to switch to the other page. Same thing. Link, consist A. And then it's going to ask, is this the rear locomotive? Is it facing forward? Or is it the lead engine? I can just tap on this. It's the rear locomotive. It's rear locomotive. Is it facing forward? It's facing forward. If I tap on it, it'll switch. But if I go back, and I go to my engine that's the lead engine, I'm going to reverse for simplicity's sake, and we move on. If I didn't have train brake on that one, it would move. It's also a little bit different. Let me turn off train brake. If I move them, they both move now. So since I have them going opposite directions, they're going opposite directions. But if I want to change that, I can go into the settings, set which one is the lead again, and then we'll go from there. But it's that simple. You hit one button tap, choose a direction, and go. Will it be different between different manufacturers? Yes, it'll be different between different manufacturers. You can speed match them. There is a setting in the train menu where you can adjust a couple of speed steps up or a couple of speed steps down.
Basically the end of you and the Southern Ram long move forward. Is there like a CD that make it like start out in reverse by default like long move forward engines?
That's a good question. You can switch the there's a setting in the motor settings for polarity of the motors. So you could set it up so that if you say you wire it, so like, let's say you wired for short hood forward, but you wanted to run it long hood forward. You can switch the polarity in the settings, but you can also just wire it that way. So if you have a specific way you want to run it, just wire it that way. So it starts out going long hood forward or short hood forward.
And for running multiple trains, guys, so this is the full menu. You can see in the upper right hand corner there's some arrows. I can use them to navigate between engines. I know it's not, that's one big icon, it's big control. That's perfectly there. I like that they brought that over from iOS and Android. If you want all your throttles on one screen, down at the bottom there's multi-train mode, and what you'll see, it puts all your throttles in one screen, and you can just adjust them as one. So unlike other competitors' apps that are out there for Bluetooth, you can do more than one train. And the nice part is, if I switch to a different train, the train doesn't just stop. It'll keep going until it receives another command from the app. Yes?
That also includes if you're, for some reason, walk away out of range.
Yeah.
There's a setting for each individual locomotive where you can have it, you can choose whether the locomotive stops if it loses communication or if it just continues going at the same rate. Yeah, so, like if, for example, if I were to start a Blunami engine at the train club and say we're just running for the public, I don't want to necessarily have to leave my phone connected to it the entire time. Yeah. I want to be able to walk away, go to the bathroom, go get something to eat. the train will just keep going until it receives a different direction or loses power.
Yeah, from the factory, the decoder is set to continue at all. But if you go into your general settings, there's a setting. It's on disconnect. There's continue or there's stop. If you're at a club like Travis in the Lower Susquehanna, and you know that you're going to walk away and you don't want your train to run in somewhere or just keep running, set it to stop, and then when it disconnects, the train will stop and you won't have any problems.
Yes.
Running off the phone or the tablet, do they both work equally as well, or does one work better than the other?
They work equally as well. Obviously, older devices you might have the cords from the device, but you can go pretty far back with the different versions of iOS or Android. Basically, it's well done, and they always release updates when there's feedback. So if you see something that doesn't work, trust me, I've seen a lot of things that haven't worked, but they fix very quickly. You can send feedback to Soundtracks to get it corrected. Yes, Matt.
I wanted to ask you, when you take a phone call interjects in the middle of the app. Can you describe, how the app handles it?
Still keep going.
Yep.
They actually, in fact, Soundtracks actually made a video on that topic alone because they get it a lot.
Yep.
They'll keep going. Yes.
Where do you buy these?
You can buy these at most hobby shops, so you can buy them if you like Train World sells them, or we personally go to Spooky Trains, not because of any personal affiliation or kickback, we just think their name is interesting.
I will say this, I know we're going a little long here before we're going away. If you have any interest in having a bracket to hold your 4408 decoder, I do have them up here. I'm selling them for $5 a piece. If you want some for your own upgrades, I will sell them to you. I just don't be able to walk away. I don't want them to miss out on something. But I will keep taking questions.
Yeah, we're going to take questions, and once we're out of questions, guys, come up. If you want to see how the engines work, give them a try. Yeah, what's your question?
Yes, I remember thanks guys that we used to see the F09s run.
Yes.
And the F09s had a very distinctive horn.
The air horn or the air whistle. Yes.
Yeah, the Hancock whistle.
The Hancock whistle is in there. Yep. So when Jay does the F09s, you can say, hey, Nami, can we get them right? So guys, feel free to come up if you want to ask questions about the models. We're going to be here for a little bit, and then if I run out of time, come to the third building.
Thank you all so much for your attention and for being here. Come on up and see the stuff.